Hello. Hi, Steve. Hello. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, how are you?
I'm good, thank you.
How's your family?
We're well.
Good.
1 second. I need to do something. Okay.
Couldn't get on the hello.
Okay, Steve, I'm open for business. What questions do you have?
I couldn't get on Hallel this morning. I don't know if it was me or I don't know if anybody else mentioned it to you.
No one else mentioned that to me. I was able to get on.
Yeah.
The only thing I had to do was to input the meeting number, and
Okay.
it took me directly there.
So it might have been me.
There's a learning curve to Zoom, and I hear reports that sometimes people are not able to get onto something, or
First time I had a problem with it.
okay,
Actually, I have a question while we're waiting.
sure, of course.
What happens in the event, or if it's permitted? Let's say you make an order from somewhere for food before Chag, and you pay for it over the phone with your credit card. They deliver it to you during Chag. Are you allowed to accept it?
Okay, so
We
you
haven't
buy
done it, but I'm just
Chag,
curious.
and you pay for it before Chag,
Yeah, let's say you give them your credit card number over the phone.
right? And
And
then
lo and behold, they show up at your door on Wednesday or Thursday.
right. So that's a questionable issue. First of all, it's certainly preferable not to use that item on that day of Yom Tov.
Right.
I'm assuming it was brought by a non-Jewish person. Is that correct?
Well, yeah, I would assume also. I mean, it wouldn't be foodery, so.
Right. Right. So it would be best not to use it on that day. That would be the best thing.
Although I've been very impressed with foodery. We ordered from them once, and they were very efficient, very professional. They delivered everything we ordered. I don't know if anybody else had that experience, but
Okay, good. Good. It should continue.
they were busy making deliveries last night in this area. I saw them.
I see. Let me make sure. I want to unmute everyone for now. It looks like the ceiling of my house. Does the ceiling of my house have any questions?
Yeah,
Actually, we used that.
I have a question for Yaakov. Yaakov wants to know, why can't he eat string beans?
Why can he not eat string beans? Because string beans are in the category of kitnios. And I recognize there are slightly different lists of what is in the category of kitnios. So there is variation from community to community about what is included, but string beans is on every list, and it is in the category of kitnios. I know that does not make Yaakov happy,
No.
but that is still the truth.
Thank you.
Yes, Steve, you had another question?
No, it's not a question. In terms of the Seders, it was just the three of us.
Uh-huh.
And they were actually quite nice.
Good.
They actually went on quite a while, and Eliza was very into it. And we used the handout, the booklet that you sent.
Good.
Particularly, there were two tefillot in particular that I found quite meaningful. One was for doctors and healthcare workers.
Yes.
And the other one was about, it included, I think, healthcare workers, but it also, made reference to people who work in grocery stores and deliver food and clean. And, that's very important to remember these people.
Yes, it is. Stu Gutman is largely responsible for that. And he is the one that added those particular pages. I'm grateful to him for that.
Who's that?
And
who added
he did a good job.
Who added the pages, Rabbi?
Stu Gutman.
Oh, Stu Gutman, okay.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, I was responsible for some of the other pages, but he was responsible for those.
You know what I feel I'm missing now? I learn a little bit every day, even before all this. I'm no great tzaddik, believe me. A little bit of Chafetz Chaim, a little bit of Pirkei Avot. And since January, I've been doing something online every day with Daf Yomi. But it's really Daf Yomi super light. But it's still, I find interesting. And so now I feel I miss a hard copy of a Talmud. So.
Okay. That's something to aspire to. We also will be starting next week several different learning opportunities on a regular basis. Some learning on a daily basis, some additional weekly learning in addition to our regular Thursday night class, and some additional offerings that we will be announcing to start next week.
Yeah, the other thing is I can share with you, I'm still getting a paycheck, which is...
Thank God.
One never knows how that's going to turn out. And, universities, as you may know, are places of tremendous privilege. And, McGill alone must have a payroll of 5,000 people, if not more. So any check I get, I'm happy to get. I suspect that's not going to go on forever. So I'm just saying thank you. And
it's something not to take for granted.
No. Believe me, I don't. Somebody else
Okay.
is there.
Marvin. Hello, Marvin.
How are you, sir?
I'm very good. How are you?
Keeping okay. I feel like as if the world's coming back to me all over again.
Okay. All right. Do you have a question that I can help you with?
Yeah. Did you get my text?
No.
Okay.
I was a little busy before this.
Are you ready? I'll read it.
I'm ready.
Okay, I'll read it out to you. Okay, hold on. Okay, because I figured I'd send it to you. Here it is. Okay, I'm going to read it to you. Okay, here's the first part of my question. Ready?
I'm ready.
The biblical census, numbers accounting for the amount of Jews crossing throughout the sea, is mentioned 4 times in the Torah, once in Exodus and 3 times in Numbers. Part A, what is the Hebrew name of the crossing? And part B, and this is a tricky question, careful, starting from the lowest number, tell me which chapter and verse in both Exodus and Numbers where each of the crossings was mentioned. I'll give you a hint. 600,000 was mentioned on foot at Exodus 12:37. Now, so we'll go back to the first, I'll read the question again, okay? The biblical census numbers accounting for the number of Jews crossing throughout the sea. It's mentioned 4 times in the Torah, once in Exodus, 3 times in Numbers. Tell me the Hebrew name where the crossing is, and also part B, starting for the lowest number. And this is tricky. Tell me which chapter and verse in both Exodus and Numbers where each of the crossings was mentioned. And I give you one hint. 600,000 was mentioned in Exodus 12:37.
Okay. Marvin, those are excellent questions. Let me give you an excellent answer. I do not know. And by the way, that's a really important answer. I do not hold myself up to know every detail or every question. So I do not know the answers to those questions. But they are very good questions. I will point out that there is a discrepancy in the counting in the following sense. The actual number is 600,000 plus a little bit. And the number given at the beginning of the 40 years and then at the end of the 40 years varies almost nothing at all.
Right.
In any normal demographic sense, we would expect 40 years later for there to be a much larger number than 40 years before.
Right.
But that is not the case. And there are a
Okay.
number of answers for that question. One of them is that there was an unnatural rate of passing because of the sin of the spies. It was ordained that the entire generation would pass away before entering the land of Israel. That created a higher than normal death rate on an annual basis. There are a couple of other things to discuss with that as well, but it's a very interesting phenomenon. I've also discussed this before, and I'll just allude to it, and maybe I'll let you look into this. What's also fascinating is to break it down by tribe and to look at the number per tribe at the beginning of the 40 years, and then the number per tribe at the end of the 40 years, and to see the differential. And that differential is varied by tribe. It's not like they all increase by 2% or all that they all increase on a similar rate. They increase on a very dissimilar rate. And that also requires explanation, which maybe we'll find another time to discuss that.
Okay.
But thank you, Marvin. Thank you for the question.
Oh,
I see Sheila and Bernie. Sheila and Bernie, do you have a question?
I'll tell you
No.
what. I'll send you out the answer.
Okay, great, Marvin. Thank you.
Go ahead.
Oh,
Sorry.
Sheila, Bernie, are you just there?
We're just here
Okay.
to see how wise our rabbi is.
Okay. By the way, let me mention something. On Zoom, there's a feature. If you go to participants and click on your name, you can raise your hand, which actually works very well in this kind of a setting. What I could do is have everyone on mute, and then whoever wanted to ask a question could raise their hand. Until we get more people, I'll leave it like this, but you should just know that option is available. Go to participants, go to your name, and select raise your hand, and a little blue hand will show up on the bottom of the screen. I see Irina. Hello, Irina. I don't know if you have any questions.
Hello.
Hi. Hello. How are you?
Hello. Good, thanks.
Good. Did you have any questions for today?
I might.
Okay, think about it and get back to me if you do.
Okay, thanks.
Sofiane, how are you?
Hi, Robert. Good. You?
I'm very, very good. Do you have any other questions?
Actually, we have one.
Okay.
So, regarding the lighting of the candle, so the first date was at 7:47 latest, and then the second date was about an hour after. Is there any reason for that?
Okay, yes. It's an excellent question, and it's actually a little bit complicated, but it's very important to understand.
Could you repeat the question?
Yeah, the question is, why on the first night of Pesach, we listed candle lighting at about, I think it was 7:14, and on the second night, we listed it as 8:20, much later. Why is it so different? So the answer is as follows. Right now, it's daytime in Montreal. Definitely, according to everybody, all opinions. In 4 hours, 9 o'clock, 10 p.m., 11 p.m., it will be nighttime, according to every opinion. From the time of sunset, for the next 45 to 50 minutes, that is a period of doubt. Just like outside, it's kind of, we call it dusk. It's getting dark, the sun has set, but there is still some light. Well, is that considered part of the day before, or is that considered the beginning of the next day? Because in Jewish law, the day always starts at night. Well, what's the definition of night? Is it sunset, or is it when it gets dark? So sunset is known by the Hebrew term shkia, which means setting, like the setting of the sun. And dark, nightfall, is known by the term tseis hakochavim, which means when it's completely dark and stars come out. Tseis hakochavim is the time that Shabbat ends. And the reason for that is, when we talk about Shabbat, we want to make sure we're not doing prohibited work on Shabbat. Well, when is Shabbat? When does it start? When does it end? It starts Friday night and it ends Saturday night. But when precisely does it begin and end? Well, the 45-minute period between sunset and nightfall is actually a question of dispute. It's a doubt whether it is Friday or Shabbos. And then the same thing on Saturday afternoon. From sunset until it gets dark is a doubt whether it's Shabbos or the beginning of the first weekday. So since the laws of Shabbos are very strict, and we have to be careful not to do any work and not to even take the chance of possibly doing any work, we are stringent on both sides. We start from the earliest time, sunset, and we continue to observe the limitations until 45 minutes or so after sunset to make sure that we are not violating the laws of Shabbos.
That's pretty much
Similarly,
why it's...
Let me just finish this, and I'll come to you, Rita. Similarly, on the first night of Yom Tov, we start at sunset. Actually, 18 minutes before, but let's just call it sunset. That's when the day begins. And the next 45 minutes or so are a question of doubt, but we want to make sure we don't do any work, even if it's a question of doubt. When it comes to the second night, so this year it was Thursday night. So on Thursday night, we need to be careful that we are not doing work on the first day of Yom Tov for the second day of Yom Tov. For example, if on Thursday afternoon I would cook for 9 p.m., that would be prohibited because I would be cooking on the first day of Yom Tov for the second day of Yom Tov, which I'm not allowed to do. Not only cooking, but any preparation I'm not allowed to do on one day of Yom Tov for the second day of Yom Tov. And therefore, I have to wait on Thursday until Tzeis HaKochavim, until nightfall, which would be the same time that Yom Tov would be over if it was a weeknight, in order to start to do any preparation. Any preparation means lighting candles, cooking, setting the table. Any preparations for the second night cannot begin until nightfall, which was at about 8:20. So that's the reason for the difference in candle lighting. I see Sheila's hand up.
Right.
So,
hello, Rabbi. Nice to see you.
Hello, Sheila. Yes, you have your hand up.
Yes. Nice to see you.
Likewise,
my
good to see you.
question is, I really don't know much about this, and I hope you'll enlighten me. Halal. I noticed there was a service last week, and there was a service this morning. Is that Hi, Marcy.
Hi.
Is that nice to see you? Is that something that's just done for Passover or Chol Hamoed Passover?
Okay, so excellent. Hallel is a service of prayers, a series of prayers that are thanksgiving, that praise and thank God for the miracles that He has done for us. That is part of the Haggadah. At the Seder night, we say the first 2 paragraphs of Hallel before the meal, and then the rest of Hallel after the meal. We also say that same prayer every day at Pesach, Yom Tov, as well as Chol HaMoed. And we also say that prayer on Rosh Chodesh. So we did the first one a couple of weeks ago on Rosh Chodesh Nisan, the first day of the Jewish month of Nisan. We had Hallel. And then we had another one this morning, because we say Hallel on Chol HaMoed. And we will have another one next week on Rosh Chodesh Iyar, the beginning of the month of Iyar the next month. And so that's why we do it.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. It's a beautiful prayer, actually.
It is. And it's done in a beautiful way. Yes. Okay. Marcy, do you have your hand up?
No, I'm peeling onions.
Okay.
She's getting me hungry.
Irina, do you have a question?
Yeah, I have a question.
Yes.
Why do some people, although maybe it's because they misunderstood something, because people who do it are pretty much newly observant, why do some of them observe Kol HaMoed in such a way that it's impossible to work? For example, they don't write, they don't...
So you're asking an excellent question. First of all, there's no reason not to drive on Kol HaMoed. There are two basic approaches to understanding how to observe Kol HaMoed. One is that the only thing that is permitted is work that is necessary for today or the rest of the holiday, like cooking and cleaning, but nothing else. So if I need food for today or for Yom Tov, I'm allowed to go shopping. I should try not to go out of the house, but I'm allowed to go shopping. I can cook for today, for Yom Tov, but not for after Yom Tov. And basically, I treat it like a holiday. I don't work. I wear nice clothes. I have nice meals. So it's almost like Yom Tov, except for the restrictions about electricity do not apply. But it should be almost like Yom Tov. That's one approach. That is the preferable approach. The second approach treats it more like a weekday, but a special weekday. So we should try to spend our time involved in holiday type activities, but people who need to go to work are allowed to go to work. So those are the two paths in understanding this. And a person should follow the path that they're on. But in any event, it is permitted to drive a car or to use electricity or to cook for that day.
Okay, thanks. But it makes it pretty much impossible for them to work, for the people who take the first approach.
The preferable thing is not to do regular work, unless, of course, it's something that would be a significant financial loss, or it's something that is an extraordinary need, or something that is necessary for the holiday. Okay, let me come to Ruth and Steve.
Yeah. I guess my question is somewhat related to Irina's. So I know that we start counting the Sfirat Omer and you're not allowed to shave or cut your hair, among other things. But considering it's Chol HaMoed and it is a semi-holiday, why can't you cut your hair or shave in light of it being a holiday to make it Hadar HaChag?
Okay, so that's an excellent question. And the answer to that question is, our rabbis wanted to make sure that you'll see how it won't make sense this year. Our rabbis were worried that a person who was busy getting ready for the beginning of Pesach might neglect or forget or not make time to take a haircut. Hold on one second. Let me just fix something. So our rabbis put a penalty on a person who did not get a haircut or shave before the Yom Tov started by saying you may not get a haircut or shave during Chol HaMoed. That is intended to be a penalty that serves as an incentive to make sure you do it before the holiday. Now, so therefore, there are many people who during Chol HaMoed do not get a haircut and do not shave. There's another way to look at it, which goes as follows. To say that I'm going to be penalized for not shaving last Wednesday, that I'm not going to be allowed to shave all this week, really only makes logical sense if I normally shave once a week. In other words, if I have a beard and I only trim my beard once a week, it would make sense to say, you make sure you better do it before Yom Tov starts so you come into Yom Tov looking nice. Because if not, you're going to have to wait a full week before you do it again. You can't just do it right after Yom Tov. What about for a person who shaves every day on a regular basis? Well, for a person who shaves on a regular basis, there should be no reason to have a penalty during Chol HaMoed, because even if I did shave before Yom Tov started, I would still shave during Chol HaMoed. According to Rav Soloveitchik, those who shave on a regular basis do not have any prohibition against shaving during Chol HaMoed. However, the issue of a haircut still makes sense, because most people do not get a haircut every day, and therefore we want to make sure you get a haircut before Yom Tov starts. This year, of course, everything is different. It is not safe to go to a barber to get a haircut. If you do have someone in your house who is going to cut your hair, that should be before Yom Tov. Although I do recommend not trying to cut someone's hair if you are not good at it. That's an important thing. However, those of us who did not get a haircut before Yom Tov, there is a special leniency for this year. And when it will be safe for us to get a haircut, we will be allowed to do so, even if it is during the Omer. That's for this year only.
Really?
Who else? Marvin, did you have a question?
No. I was waving my hand. Go ahead.
All right. Who else?
No questions. You're so smart. You don't know the question.
Mine is not a question.
I'll take it a question.
Yes.
My question is very simple. When they were counting Jews, they always seemed to emphasize the crossing of only millions. But there was an estimated millions more when they left Egypt. What is the discrepancy? Why did they only choose the men? What happened to the society, the children, all that? Was there a particular reason that was that?
Well, that's an excellent question. First of all, let me just make the question sharper. Even the men were not all counted. Only the men between the ages of 20 and 60.
Right.
I don't know about you, Marvin, but that means that I will not be counted anymore. I'm out. So the Torah nowhere gives a clear answer to this question.
Okay.
My assumption is, based on the wording of the Torah, is that the Torah is counting those individuals who are eligible to serve as soldiers in the army. And soldiers in the army at that time were only men between the ages of 20 and 60. So that's the reason for the counting, because that's the reason that the counting was most practically needed to know how many soldiers were available to fight against an army. But if you just extrapolate, there had to have been 3 to 5 to 6 million people total.
Yeah. Thank
Good
you.
question. What else?
Mine was not a question, but a comment. I guess your explanation about the second day of the holiday explains why Shabbat is 25 hours and not 24.
That's correct. Similar with Yom Kippur. The fast of Yom Kippur is 25 hours, not 24, because we go stringently on both sides.
So,
correct. Yes, Ruth, Steve?
Okay, when we recite the Haggadah, in our discussions, we always bring up the women who were instrumental in the Yetziat Mitzrayim, but there isn't a formal recognition of them in the Haggadah. Why?
That's a good question. I don't have a complete answer to that question, other than to say that clearly the Haggadah is not meant to be a text that reciting it fulfills and completes a person's requirement for the Seder night. It is intended to be an outline. It's intended to be the skeleton for the discussion, which should bring in many more subjects. Among the people who are not mentioned in the Haggadah, in addition to women, are Moshe, not mentioned in the Haggadah, and many other aspects. So it is not intended to be comprehensive. It's intended to be a guide for our discussion. And of course, we should add, as you were doing, that's the right thing. We should be adding to it with all of the explanation and discussion that we raise in our homes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
What else? So let me just mention a couple of things.
What was that joke you told at the Seder table? You mentioned you were telling jokes. Now's the time to share with us.
All right.
I mean, I don't want to embarrass you.
No, it won't embarrass me. I thought it was a great joke. This was just one of the jokes that I told. One of the jokes that I told at the Seder was, what do you wear during a pandemic to the Seder? And the answer is, you wear a hazmatza suit.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
I would also mention another diamond of a joke at my Seder. I am so religious that before Pesach, I erase the cookies from my computer. A little groaning is okay for Pesach jokes. Laughing, groaning, that's a sign of success. Yes, Irina. Yes. Irina.
I muted. I have a question. Somebody said that, let's say, if you didn't have any kind of Seder at all, but you still want to mark the Passover, you can observe it on Pesach Sheni. Like you can hold this small Seder or...
No, that's not true. That's not true. During the time when the Beit HaMikdash was standing in Jerusalem, if a person had a legitimate reason for not being able to offer the Karban Pesach, the Paschal sacrifice, there was a way to do it a month later at the Pesach Sheni. But that does not apply to us. And that is not a relevant
no extra
topic
Seder.
for us. No, no extra Seder. Yes, Steve?
A comment, you told us a few times with Sudash Lishit and others, but the Kohanim, fighting over who would clean up the trash in the morning. There would be a series of lots. And
yes.
I'll tell you, in this house, there's no fighting. I win all the time.
Okay, you're a winner. You're a winner, Steve. You're a winner in my book as well.
The garbage, the carpeting, everything.
Let me just mention that tomorrow night begins Yom Tov, the second Yom Tov.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that will be very unusual for people is that on the last day of Pesach is Yizkar. And many of us make a point to coming to shul to say Yizkar in the synagogue. And that's a very important thing. However, technically speaking, Yizkar does not require a minyan. And Yizkar should be said alone at home. I have provided the prayers for Yizkar in the mini bulletin that we published and in the emails that I've been sending out. So I advise you to print it out before Yom Tov so that you'll have it available to be able to say on the 8th day of Pesach. Let me just mention, certainly if you have any further questions or issues to discuss, please call me, send me an email. I look forward to being in touch with you. I will be sending out an email tomorrow with information about Yom Tov. And again, I will be announcing very new, exciting initiatives starting next week about learning opportunities, social opportunities through Zoom and other social media to be able to learn Torah, to be able to stay connected and to help other people, and to be able to keep strong and flourishing the community of Adath during this time. So I wish you all a good evening. Thank you for joining. I see Sheila, you have your hand up, yes?
Yes, I just wanted to say, that's a really nice picture of you with a glass of wine.
Thank you. Yes, it
I
was a
just
very
want-
nice time. Marcy took the picture. It was a very nice time. So
Okay, I
like to
just
be
want to
reminded.
say that we all appreciate everything that you are doing and all the correspondence you're sending out and all the and everything. And we wish
Thank
you
you.
and Marcy the best holiday. And thank you. It's a comfort. It's a great help.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
I
Have a good
appreciate
night.
great.
Madim
Good night.
l'simcha and
Bye,
Chag Sameach.
everybody.
Hag
Chag
Sameach.
Sameach.